Welcome to The Explainer. Let's jump right in, because today we are tearing down pretty much everything society tells us about what it means to be truly wealthy. Think about it. Every single day, we're hit with these massive flexes, mansions, sports cars, designer labels, and we're conditioned to think, yep, that is what success looks like. But what if I told you the whole concept is basically a lie? What if the people loudly displaying all that wealth are actually the ones with the absolute smallest bank accounts? Where are the millionaires who actually look like millionaires? That is a real question, asked by a genuinely baffled Trust Department VP. He had just hosted a dinner for 10 self-made millionaires. He rolled out the red carpet, gourmet pâté, expensive caviar, vintage wines, expecting high society. But the guests showed up in off-the-rack suits and barely even touched the fancy spread. And that right there is the core mystery we're tackling today. Why in the world do the truly wealthy rarely actually look the part? To figure this out, we're diving into an absolute landmark 20-year study by Dr. Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko. You probably know it from their massive bestseller, The Millionaire Next Door. But listen, this isn't just a collection of fun little stories. This is 2 decades of rigorous, hard data. They surveyed thousands of high-net-worth households to find out where they live, what they actually buy, and how they behave on a daily basis. And I'm telling you, what they found is going to completely rewire how you view money. All right, Section 1, the millionaire myth. Let's break down income versus actual wealth.
So there's this massive, blinding misconception out there. People confuse earning a high income with actually accumulating wealth. Look, if you make $1 million a year, but you spend $1 million a year, you are not wealthy. You're just living high. Wealth is what you keep. There's this absolutely perfect Texan phrase that hits the nail on the head. Big hat, no cattle. We all know this person, right? They're driving the imported luxury car, rocking the massive watch, swiping the card at the country club. But behind the scenes, zero financial assets. They're playing a character, living paycheck to paycheck on a 6-figure salary to fund an illusion.
The researchers actually boiled real wealth down to 7 common denominators. But the biggest takeaway is this: extreme self-discipline and frugality will beat a high salary every time. These folks live way below their means. They treat financial independence as vastly more important than looking rich to their neighbors. And get this, 80% of America's millionaires are first-generation rich. So no, it's not about luck, and it's definitely not about inheritance. It is entirely about your behavior.
My favorite story from the study sums this up perfectly. Remember that fancy focus group I mentioned earlier? So the researchers brought in a decamillionaire, a guy worth over $10 million. Let's just call him Mr. Bud. They offer him a glass of 1970 vintage Bordeaux, and Mr. Bud just looks at them, totally confused, and goes, "I drink scotch and 2 kinds of beer, Free and Budweiser." He literally ignored the gourmet spread. It just goes to show wealthy tastes are often shockingly normal. They just don't buy into the hype.
Moving to Section 2. Are you a PAW? Let's look at the actual math of wealth building. Getting rich isn't some mystical secret. It's a math equation, and you can figure out exactly where you stand right now. Here's the formula. Take your age, multiply it by your pre-tax annual household income, and divide that whole thing by 10. Whatever number you get, that is what your net worth should be right now. Seriously, I want you to pause for a second and actually do the math. If you're 40 years old, making $100,000 a year, your expected net worth should be $400,000. Okay, once you have your number, you're generally going to fall into one of 2 camps. If your actual net worth is double your expected level, congrats, you are a PAW, a prodigious accumulator of wealth. You're a financial rock star. But if your net worth is half or less of your expected level, you're a UAW, an underaccumulator of wealth. UAWs are the ones spending every dime they make just to maintain that rich lifestyle. Let's look at a real-world showdown from the data to make this concrete. We've got Bubba Richards, a 50-year-old mobile home dealer, pulling in about $90K a year. On the other side, we have James H. Ford II, a 51-year-old attorney making pretty much the exact same income. The math says they should have roughly the same wealth, right? Wrong. Bubba is a PAW, sitting on a net worth of $1.1 million. James, the attorney, is a UAW with only $226,000. Why the massive gap? Because James is trapped. He has to spend a fortune maintaining the expected lifestyle of a fancy lawyer, country clubs, tailored suits, European cars. Bubba lives in a blue-collar world. He doesn't have to perform his wealth for anybody. Section 3. The ancestry of wealth. Time to bust some serious old money myths.
We've all got this image in our heads of wealth being passed down through generations of early English settlers, right? The whole old money aesthetic. Well, let's look at the actual stats. Which ancestry group in America has the highest concentration of millionaires? If you had to put your money on it, who do you think dominates this list relative to their population?
Ready for a surprise? People of English descent actually come in fourth. Yeah, they were on the ground floor of the American economy, but only about 7.7% of their households hit the millionaire mark. The actual top spots? Russian ancestry takes number 1, Scottish takes number 2, and Hungarian comes in at number 3.
So why do Russian Americans take the crown? The data is wild. 22 out of every 100 Russian American households are in the Millionaire Club. Together, they hold an estimated $1.1 trillion in wealth. And the secret sauce, it's a massive generational drive toward entrepreneurship. They take the risk to work for themselves. And being a business owner is literally one of the strongest positive indicators of wealth in the entire study.
But wait, what about the Scottish advantage at number 2? This is where it gets really interesting. Scottish millionaires aren't building wealth through astronomical incomes. They do it through an intense cultural dedication to extreme frugality. Check this out. Over 60% of Scottish ancestry millionaires make less than $100,000 a year. They intentionally live in self-imposed scarcity. They spend so far below what they earn that they're able to save and invest massive amounts of capital compared to everyone else.
Which leads us perfectly into section 4. Frugal, frugal, frugal. Let's peek at some receipts.
Okay, let's get hyper-specific about how actual self-made millionaires spend their money. Meet the study's classic example, Johnny Lucas. He's 57, married to his high school sweetheart, and runs a small janitorial contracting firm. To everyone in his neighborhood, Johnny is just a regular, middle-class guy driving a beat-up American van. He definitely doesn't look like he has a net worth north of $2 million. But the guy has total financial freedom. No mortgage, kids' colleges are fully paid for, and he's sitting on a go-to-hell fund that means he could completely stop working today and live comfortably for over a decade.
So let's play a little game to see if you have millionaire tastes. What do you honestly think a typical American millionaire pays for their absolute finest, best-in-the-closet suit? Remember, we're talking about people with over $1 million in the bank.
$399. That's it. Half of all surveyed millionaires have never, in their entire lives, paid more than $399 for a suit. Actually, 1 in 4 has never paid more than $285. They aren't flying to London for custom tailoring. Nearly a third of them are swiping a JCPenney card. You want to know who's actually buying the $1,000 suits? It's usually the non-millionaire middle managers and the lawyers who are desperate to look successful.
All right, let's keep it rolling. What about shoes? What is the absolute top dollar a typical millionaire is willing to drop on footwear?
$140. That's the 50th percentile max. It totally flies in the face of our media-obsessed culture, doesn't it? The study actually brings up this famous boxing promoter who dropped $64,000 on 110 pairs of alligator shoes in one afternoon, and the media eats that up, basically brainwashing us into thinking that hyperspending is just what you do when you're rich. But it's totally false. Real millionaires just want a durable, sensible shoe.
Okay, the final test. The ultimate status symbol, the luxury wristwatch. What's the ceiling here?
A measly $235. I mean, that just shatters the whole luxury illusion right there. Half of all millionaires max out their watch budget at $235. Only a microscopic fraction of them are buying a Rolex. Because look, they know a $20 watch tells the exact same time as a $5,000 watch. They'd much rather take that difference and dump it into assets that actually appreciate.
I want to leave you with this absolutely legendary quote. There's a guy in the study whose company just went public. His wife instantly got $8 million in stock. Her reaction? She's sitting at the kitchen table clipping out 50-cent grocery coupons. The guy literally tells the researchers, "I can't get my wife to spend any money." And that's the whole secret. Earning a massive income is just playing offense. True, lasting wealth means your entire household has to play phenomenal financial defense. Frugality isn't some sort of punishment. It is literally the bedrock of financial freedom. So here's my question for you today. Take a hard look at your own spending. Are you building actual, undeniable generational wealth, or are you just trading away your future to buy the illusion of status? Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer. I hope it completely changes how you look at the Millionaire Next Door.